It is the coolest story ever.
I almost feel like I've been here 75 years. That's how long I've been dealing and coming to Bart's.
I was here the day it opened, on the opening day. My uncle, Robert Collins, brought me down, and we had a Sunday, according to him. There were only 3 places in Windsor Center. Bart's, Cozy Corner, and there was an ice cream shop right next to the movie theater. Other than that, there wasn't any place to get anything to eat.
Back in 1946, my grandfather, Bart Dillon, was working at the Cozy Corner restaurant in Windsor Center, when a gentleman that he was serving said, "You run a fine restaurant here." My grandfather says, "Thank you for the compliment, but it's not my restaurant." So this gentleman was Bill Hastings Sr. And he said to my grandfather, "How would you like to own your own restaurant?"
Because there was no I-91 at that time. This was the main connector from Hartford up to Springfield. And there were no restaurants along here. And so he had got hold of Bart Dillon, and the two of them decided to go in business together and start a restaurant.
So Bill Hastings Sr. and my grandfather Bart sat along the guardrails here along 159 and counted cars for hours to see if this specific location would be perfect for a restaurant.
They had no formal agreement as to a partnership or anything like that for the entire length of the business. There was no partnership.
So on a handshake, which would never happen today, no attorneys, on a handshake, an agreement was made to build and open Bart's, August 14th, 1946.
My father owned the land. He built the building and furnished it, and he and Bart were 50-50 owners of the business. And that's how it started.
You couldn't live in Windsor and grow up in Windsor without knowing Bart's. It was just such an iconic place. I mean, the early days of the shad fishing and John Cardillo literally taking fish out of the water and carving it up and boning it right here. And it was a place where the Dillons always had activity and fundraisers, and it was just a fun environment.
Well, I'm William Ellsworth Hastings Jr., the son of William Sr., who was the founder of this business.
I'm Sharon Rispoli, and I am the granddaughter of Bart Dillon and daughter of Robert Dillon.
I'm Karen Dillon, and I am wife of Robert Dillon and daughter-in-law of Bart Dillon.
Hi, I'm Don Trinks, and I am the owner and manager of Bart's Drive-In.
We moved to Windsor 55 years ago. The first place we were introduced to in Windsor is Bart's. And in the summer, when we moved, our neighbors who had been here a while said, "Got to go to Bart's. We're going to Bart's to get hot dogs. They're 15 cents. You want one?" And that just became a ritual.
I think we paid 10 cents for a regular ice cream cone.
My first memory of Bart's is when I was about 8 years old. I was here with my father. He had a blue Ford pickup truck, and we used to come down here for hot dogs.
But fried clams, a lot of people had never seen fried clams, and the French fries were great.
There's quite a list, but Bob's Belly Busting Dog, #1. Whole belly clams. People come from out of state for whole belly clams. Fried shrimp. My grandfather Bart had a Noah's Ark sundae that was very popular in the 40s and 50s, and there's actually a patent on it.
But my first experience, I came in here, and the line was out the door for hot dogs. And I walked around the corner, and Barty Dillon spotted me. He says, "Billy," he says, "make me a milkshake." What? I had no idea how to make a milkshake. But this also was the second largest selling ice cream place of Hood's Ice Cream, which was the major maker of ice cream back in those days. The second largest seller of Hood's Ice Cream in the state of Connecticut.
I guess I've been eating hot dogs and hamburgers from here for, wow, long time, 70 plus years. And there's nothing to make me think there was ever a change in the menu or the food. It seems to be exactly the same as it could be 1951. You're going to get a hamburger, it's the same thing.
You put out a good product and people will come. And I think that's been the drawing card for all of these years. The location initially, sure, was great because it was the only place between Hartford and Springfield. That started it. And local kids had no other place to go. This was the spot. And you'd come here on a Friday night and it was hard to get into the parking lot.
When I was in Boston, I'm now in California, but when I was in Boston, I'd come home a few times a year. Whenever we came home, we would go down to Bart's. It was because it was so close and it was so special to my family. And it was one of those things. My mom would get excited. She's like, "Okay, you're going to get here in the morning. Let's make sure we go to Bart's for lunch." And it was always a hot dog and a Bart special. The Bart special, which was a hamburger with some fried onions and fried peppers, that was my favorite. So it was typically a hot dog or splitting a hot dog with my mom and then having a Bart special and of course the French fries.
Well, as a little kid, there's no question it was penny candy. Now it's a hot dog and a milkshake.
Well, first, that was the section over there where you order now. That was the entire building. And it was ice cream and then, hot dogs and hamburgers. That's really all they had.
1946, the original Bart's building was physically in front of the building that we have here today. So it was pretty incredible because customers were here at midnight, got a hot dog, went home. Through the evening, the original Bart's building was demolished, and by 7 a.m., all gone, cleaned up, and as you pass by, there you are. The new building was up and running. Bart's never missed an hour of business.
The original building was just hot dogs and hamburgers. And then they decided to put an addition on to sell goods, cigarettes and magazines and things of that sort.
And so they went ahead and they did that. And Bill, it's my understanding, really ran this side, the bait and tackle, and almost like a convenience store before there were convenience stores. So it was an interesting combination. It worked obviously very well. It survived the 1955 flood.
The railroad bridge up the street, the water was right up level with the tracks. You couldn't even come down here unless you're in a boat or you swam.
Finally, the decision was made to abandon Bart's, ship it all out. So we brought in tobacco baskets and threw magazines and cigarettes and everything on the counter, everything we could possibly get into those tobacco baskets and on 2 trucks. I was with Bart's son, Barty, Jr., and he and I were the last ones to drive out of here, and the truck was full. We were hoping to get through because now the water is under the bridge, and as we're going through, I have my feet up in the air because the water was inside the cab, and Barty is pushing that truck, making sure, going as fast as he could through that water because if we had been caught, that everything would have flooded in the truck. He never would have gotten it out. So that was the 55 flood, and it was a mess in here. So my father figured out the depth and the height of the flood and everything else, and built this building, and collapsed the old building while this one was under construction. And they never lost a day of business. They just transferred the business to this one. But this floor sits at the height of the 55 flood.
It survived the 1984 flood, to which I am told that Bob Dylan stood on the sidewalk curbing area right in front of the building, and anytime a boat went by, he'd tell them to slow down because it was creating a wake, but the water never came inside the building. So that I always say that even Mother Nature respects Bart's as an institution.
Yeah, earliest memories would be coming here with my folks, and then as I got a little bit older, being sent on my bike to go and pick up some milk or any kind of small little things, stopping and getting some penny candy, buying shad darts and sinkers for fishing down by the boat launch, and of course, hot dogs.
My sort of earliest memories of Bart's is biking there as a kid. I think it was the first place my parents let us actually venture out to, and I just remember, more going into the store side of Bart's and getting candy and a soda and summertime and drinking the soda in about 27 seconds and then heading home. And it was just such a special place.
Well, I did used to stop in and get, on the way, just stop in and get a hamburger or whatever, and by me stopping in and communicating is when I realized that they were doing, entertainment. And at that time that I was coming in, I had just came back from Europe and entertaining over in Germany, England, places like that, and hooked up with a group here. And we were just trying to, brand new, so 1994, 95, we were trying to find places to introduce the group to. And we were coming in at the time that the Motown was really trending and going around, when it had the raisins and all that other stuff like that. So when we jumped in, Sharon was like, yeah, this, we can do this, and next thing I know, there's a stage built out there and I'm getting a phone call going, you know what, we'd like to have you, you know what I mean? And so for me, that's where I think pretty much where our relationship really began. And then it was just, like I said, it was just a treatment from family. I bring my kids, they treated my kids like they were theirs, and there was just so much love and camaraderie in what we were doing that it didn't just stop at the music, it just kept going, So I've been around Sharon and them so long, it's, her mother and father, they treated me like my mother and father would treat me.
Well, the way I started working here was I used to be friends with Kevin Dillon, which was Grandpa Bart's grandson. He used to entertain as Elvis. And we used to, a gang of us all around the same age would follow him and watch him perform, and I used to make his costumes for him. So through that, I got introduced to his family and Bart's. So they were looking for somebody, and I started on this side of the business, which at the time was a grocery store and a tackle shop. And I worked directly for Karen Dillon, which was Bob's wife.
Oh, he was a wonderful man. And Bart's was, I would say, very much his life. Yeah, he loved the people loved him, and he loved the community. He was very giving, I would say, to the community. And probably one of the nicest things you could say to my husband is, I love your hot dogs.
Bob was in the National Guard in 1955, but when his father died in, I think it was around 62, 63, somewhere in there, Bob took over that portion of it for the family and operated. And he and my father worked very well together, not many problems at all. But Bob, for example, during a severe snowstorm, would want to stay open so that the workers on the plows would have a place to stop for coffee and something to eat. And Bob would give it to them, and sometimes they'd come in at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Bob would still be open waiting for them. It was that kind of personal service that worked with the community.
My father was the most thoughtful, loving, generous, humble, and unassuming man in this world. What I loved about my father is the impact he had, and to this day, on so many different individuals.
My first experience here, I worked here, and everybody in my family did. My mother was served hamburgers. I think Bart's wife served hamburgers, and everybody in the families from there on served.
The joke in our family, as soon as you could walk and talk, you could learn to work at Bart's. So my Uncle Bart passed away many years ago, but his wife and his beautiful children were very instrumental in Bart's for many, many years. And I learned so much, as so many other people, on how to be a good human. I absolutely loved every moment of working here at Bart's alongside my father, my mother, family, friends. I learned the most incredible life lessons: how to treat others, customer service, fostering relationships, giving back to the community. Now, the work part of it, I could never do today what I did in those days. We could have 200 people in line. We took orders. We memorized everything. We did not write anything down. So I'd wait on you. You'd say, may I have 5 dogs, chili cheese, 2 with kraut, 2 grilled cheese, 2 chicken sandwiches, 2 fries, 2 shakes. Boom, I'd call the orders in. Then I'd go to the next customer. We usually would take on 6 to 8 people at a time. Then as soon as your food would come up, I had to remember that 2 of those had chili cheese, 2 of those were kraut. I had to memorize everything that you ordered. Today, people still say, I'll never know how you did what you did. I said, me either, but we were able to do it. It was a blast.
We were good friends with the Dillons. Kevin babysat for us actually when I was a kid, and Sharon, just going in there and seeing Sharon and their dad. And so how I did it, I don't know. I approached Sharon, I just say, hey, I'm around and I've got some time. I'd love to kind of come in for a couple hours during the lunch to kind of need this busy lunch shift and work. So specifics on, I think I just approached Sharon and she said, absolutely. You know, my parents were all, our family's good friends with them. And so she said, come on board. So my guess is probably like February, March of '94, I started working and going in and learning the ropes. And then as the weather gets nicer, then that lunch push really happens.
Fabulous. Employees, whether they were biologically family or not, they turned into part of the family. We celebrated together. We worked beautifully together. And even today, those relationships that were fostered all those years ago, I'm still in touch with a lot of those individuals. But at the time that we all worked together, I mean, some of us vacationed together, we had special parties together. We were part of each other's lives at the business and when we were, not at work. It was so cohesive. It was so incredibly special.
The atmosphere that they actually created was, it was a little bit of everything. It was all about give back. So it was for charities. It was for when we did the cars, all the old cars shows and whatever. It was Sharon and Don and them have always did everything about giving back.
Well, I bought the beanery in 2005, and it used to be located on Quantic Ave where Buffalo Wild Wings is. One day, I was having a huge rush of people, and I only had one other employee on with like 15 minutes before the next two came on. And Don jumped right into the kitchen and started making eggs, sandwiches, and doing that. And one day, Don walked in and to borrow something. And I said, yeah. He goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm looking for a new location. And he says, I've got a location. And before you knew it, we made plans and moved here in one weekend.
When my husband retired, this became, I think it was probably his first home, not his second home. He was here every morning with his buddies. He just became a fixture here. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple years ago. But my kids asked their dad where he would like to have his consolation meal. And the first thing he said was Bart's. So Eric approached Don and he said, of course we can do it. Well, it could not have been better. I mean, he was here in his presence, but it was just perfect. And Don and Carol catered it, and it just was excellent.
After he passed away a couple of years ago, we held his reception here. And a few of the old timers in town came up to me and told me some stuff I didn't know. That back when the Dillons owned the place, they told me that my dad had built the counter. And that was a surprise. I had no idea about that. And we gave him just a great send-off here. And one of the best pictures that I have of my dad is just a few weeks before he passed away. He was sitting in this exact chair eating a hot dog, and I have a picture of him with the wall in the back, and that's my memory of my dad. And we had a big poster size blow up of that photo that was sitting here on the mantelpiece for a few months after he passed. And that was a really nice honor.
So, you know, our theory is what made this successful is a family-oriented feeling. And I know every restaurant says, oh, we're a family. But, you know, throughout the years, and now 16 years that I've been here, that we've gone to weddings of customers. Sadly, we've gone to funerals of customers. But you really get that sense of regulars that come in every day where you have their sandwich and their coffee all ready for them. You know, they order the same thing, they got something they like, and they stick with it. Lots of those. We've got groups that meet almost every day here. Tuesday, Thursday, our walking group. Wednesday is a group of men in town that just, and then Friday, conversely, is, I'm not sure, but I think it's the female version of the Wednesday group. So we get the wives of the Wednesday folks here. And it really is just that. And it's so fascinating to me because so many people have that feeling of a vested interest in here. When we did the renovations here in 2021, we were getting input on color combinations and lighting. And, you know, everybody kind of wants to be a part of it because it's been a part of their lives for so long.
It's like home cooking. I mean, I just traveled all over the world in a lot of things. And when you get home and you eat the home cooking that you used to have, and when you come here, I haven't been here in 10 or 15 years, and you walk in the door and the food's exactly the same. So I think that's the number one draw.
In my opinion, it first starts with the changing of the hands, or changing of the guards, or however you want to put it, or the owners. You had the first owners who loved the people in Windsor, who people loved. This was some place to come and hang out and have a hot dog and just relax and enjoy people. And people were people, you know what I mean? You just felt so warm being here. Then when they changed it over to Don, Mr. Trinks, the mayor is what I call him too, he kind of kept that same image of, this is Bart's. This is a family-owned restaurant, whether it's the family before or the family after, but we are still all together in collaboration as one family. And we're the family in Windsor. And my kids, this was their place. I mean, my kids all grew up at Bart's, even my old ones, you know.
So they ran it until the year 2000, and at that point, Sharon Dillon was running it, and she wanted to go on to her real estate career, and it was time, I guess, for the family to sell it. And there were two owners in between myself and two owners prior to me. And in 2004, and I'll remember this long forever, December 22nd, 2004, George Roblin and Harry Freeman approached me and said that they understood Bart's was for sale. And I was just starting out in real estate and I wasn't all that good at it. And they wanted somebody to run the operation, kind of be the front man, and they were behind the scenes. So in 2005, on Valentine's Day, we put our wives through an 8-hour closing on 2005. But that's what started what I call the new era of Bart's. And the beginning was awesome. You know, it was just a great time. Sharon was a great help. Bob was still alive, rest his soul.
I never had the opportunity to meet Bart Dillon, who started the business, and Mr. Hastings. But Bob Dillon, who ran the business after Bart, his father, was an extremely special person. Well, Bob was very special. He was like a father to me. Karen Dillon was like a mom, and the whole family. And we were one big family here. There was never, if there was, I never saw it. There was never any fighting, disagreements or anything. We were just a well-oiled machine. And it was a pleasure to come to work.
I always knew when Bob gave his seal of approval, we were doing okay. And he was just such a great mentor and gentleman, and I miss him terribly. So, you know, through the years, 2008, I bought my partners out. That was their plan. We wanted to bring it back to what everybody remembered Bart's being.
When you have your family home and everybody shows up and you got good food and good conversation and it's so good to see everybody, every day that's what it was like here. It keeps me coming back here. I can't get away from the place.
The history and the feeling of Bart's, I think, is what keeps us going. I think in the restaurant business, you know, which has a very short life in most cases, it's just tough. You know, everybody thinks, oh, running Bart's, you just have to do hot dogs and hamburgers and fish. But it's different. You got to kind of move sometimes. You got to offer some different things. You got to listen and see what people want. And our success, and I do say this only because I'm the caretaker. The foundation was built by the Dillon family, and I'm honored to continue the tradition. But that tradition was based on family feel, knowing your customers, get to know what they like. We know more about customers' personal lives, but they know about mine. So it's a whole give and take. It gives that environment that you're not just going out to eat, you're meeting with your friends, and you're going to see your friends here. And so from that perspective, certainly the layout is conducive. We survived COVID. We didn't close a single day. And it was because, I mean, the government helped, but the customers are what kept us going. It's really interesting because not a lot of businesses are open for 75 years, let alone restaurants. And it's just a feeling that Bart's gives you and gives us. Give all of the success of this, and kudos to the family for setting up a foundation for me to continue. And it's truly honor for me to be here and to continue it. And I loved, you know, Bob would come in and give little, we tried this, we did this, and he was such a gentleman about it. And I liked the fact that he approved of how we were doing it. And that means a lot. And I mean, it doesn't have to, but to us it does, because we just have so much respect for what they did and what they created here.
Yeah, I think he'd be pleased to see it this way now.
Oh, how do I do this under an hour? Bart's is so meaningful to so many people because of the memories that they've had here and experienced since 1946. There's so many stories. We could write a book. That is the relationships that we had with our customers and that our customers had with us. The relationships that were fostered were just beyond meaningful and impactful. Beautiful.
Well, the hot dogs are no longer 15 cents, that's for sure. And there's no store, but just the general ambiance of the place. And whoever, now that Don is here, but the Dillons before, it was just a second home. It was Windsor. It was Windsor. I have friends from all around Connecticut, and when I try to tell them where we live, and they say, "Oh, is that drive-in hot dog place you go by?" Yep.
Well, I think it's lasted because it's very steady quality. You know what you're going to get. Anybody in town can feel comfortable here. And I give a lot of credit to Don Trinks for managing the transition from the Dillons and the Hastings into the new era and keeping the character, while at the same time, like here with the Beanery, adapting to what the market is looking for.
Well, I would encourage anybody, if you like good hot dogs and hamburgers, you can't go wrong.
Everybody in this town has some kind of memory here. Even if they never actually physically came here, I've met people and, in conversation, I'll tell them my connection to Bart's and they're like, "Oh, Bart's, that's wonderful." I'm like, "Oh, you used to go?" "No, I've never been there." But my father would talk about it, or I had a friend that I went to school with that would talk about it, and pictures of it, and different things in that sense.
Just overall, just really great memories of not only being the place where I got to bike to first, right, with my brothers and my neighborhood friends, along right up till working there, and right up to now, still going back. And I'm 50 this year, and I moved to Windsor when I was 5. So, but 40-ish years, Bart's is in my, and still in my life. Now, it wasn't like 40 years ago I went to Bart's first. I still go there now. It's still really cool.
The culture and the environment of Bart's has been the same since 1946 to today. It was all about the relationships. It was such a family establishment, and it was so much fun. You knew everybody's name. I would say 99% of our customers, we knew their name. We knew their family members' names. We knew where the kids went to school. I knew what you liked to eat. So as soon as your car pulled up into the parking lot, your egg sandwich was cooking on the grill. I knew you liked coffee, milk, 2 sugars, light. And it was such a special feeling to our customers because they knew when they walked up to the counter, I care about you. I know what you like. I want it perfect. And I'm so happy you're here.
To relive the memories of the early days, we've had customers that were here on the first day in 1946. And to hear their stories, to me, is awesome. And the memorabilia, people are always coming in, "Oh, I found this, I found that." And it's amazing that people hold on to this stuff. And they want to hold on to that memory, and they're good memories, and we want to just keep expanding it and make a next generation of memories.